just let you go. Turn around, turn around, turn around again. Laugh at yourself. It's not half as bad as you thought it was. It's not an epic that you live. We can dress it up in red if that's how you want it. But you'd better get out tonight. We'll still hold you back from the edge. Don't watch this fool. Don't waste your money on another broken renegade. Do it now, act faster and lie to yourself. Never heavy with the consequence you're running from. Never think about the way it was. We can dress it up in red if that's how you want it. But you'd rather get out tonight. We'll still hold you back from the edge. I will wait with you till the end if that's how you want it. I'll be your audience and I will still hold you back from the edge. We can dress it up in red if that's how you want it. But you would never get out tonight. We'll still hold you back from the edge. I will wait with you till the end.
Alrighty, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the SImSpeedShop Cup Series for race number 13. Race number 1 of 5 in the SImSpeedShop Cup Series playoffs. We're live in Hampton, Georgia for the playoff opener at Atlanta Motor Speedway. I'm Mark Slebby, your lead announcer. Joining me in the booth is executive producer Harold Darner and driver in the Swift Lifestyle Pro Series, or playoff driver, I should add, Dominic DeLeo. How's it going, guys?
Playoffs. Talk about playoffs. I'm pretty pumped to be here, Hunter. Harold, you guys, should be a great race for the top of the line drivers. We had, I think, pretty much favorites win all throughout the
Absolutely.
week.
Harold, how's it going with you?
I'm doing pretty good. You know, here we are at the iRacing version of the Atlanta
I can't hear Harold. Oh, I cannot hear Harold.
You can't hear me? I'm here. Mr. Hunter, are you there? So, look at having a problem with Hunter Sleppy here.
Oh, a little technical difficulty on my end here. I cannot hear Harold. Let me see if I leave and join back.
But, so...
Yeah. So, I'll step in for the voice of Raya for a little bit. Hunter called the race on Monday. I was going to say that, you know, pretty much favorites won Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Here we got about 5 drivers in the playoff standings that I think have a really good shot at winning. Obviously, 12 drivers make the playoffs. We're cutting to 8 in 2 races, so this is a big night for a lot of guys to solidify their spots. And I think Hunter's back, so I'm going to hand it back over to him.
I'll say my audio output malfunctioned. That's why I couldn't hear anyone. I had to fix that really quick.
But you can hear us now, right?
So now that I can hear you, Harold, how is it going? Yeah.
Well, you know, we are at the iRacing version of Atlanta. This is predates the current reconfiguration of Atlanta. which is no longer running this system. I like it the way it is. I wish they would have left it alone. It's the one track that I wish NASCAR would have said, you know what, it's good the way it is and leave it be. But no, they used one of the better tracks, just like they did at Bristol. I didn't think they needed to mess with Bristol either.
We were joking. We were joking before we went live. Gary Wells, the admin for tonight's race, he does a mic check with all the drivers, and I jokingly did a mic check, but I don't think I passed the mic check.
Mike, not check.
No, not check. So I caught on to the tail end of what Dom was saying about the playoff field and cutting it down from drivers of 12 to 8 and then to 4.
Yep.
So this is race number 1. Obviously, we have the round of 12, as Dom mentioned, but I will reiterate because I was not able to. So for race number 1, we're at Atlanta tonight, then Richmond next week, and we'll cut that from 12 to 8 drivers remaining, which will be at Michigan and Kansas. And you see right there that's your playoff picture heading into tonight's race. Now there you see the points leader. I don't think he is in all. Okay. Davey Hendricks is your points leader. He was I don't know if a game time decision applies to this or not, but he has a broken foot. And there were question marks as to whether he would show up tonight. Obviously, if he couldn't make it, that's fine. But, yeah, I see him on the board there in 17th, so he's racing with a broken foot. He enters as your points leader. He has 1 win on the year, but he has those 15 bonus points to his name. All right, below, guy getting hot at the right time, David Weishart, nearly had the win last week at Charlotte and had that slip away with a few late cautions. Eric Weinland looking to get a hot streak going. Garrett Grant and Cameron Hearn. Cameron Hearn is suspended for tonight's race, so that will automatically put him in a must-win situation if he wants to win the championship. And we go to Richmond next week, and then Danny Ware, who's go on.
No, so that's the top 5 drivers here. I think were the drivers coming in that you would say are the favorites to win and have a legitimate shot. Obviously, Danny Ware had a really good run last week at Charlotte, running fast today in practice. As you can see, top 4 on the times there. But I was going to ask, is Cameron Hearn definitely in a must-win situation next week? Because theoretically, we can have some, a guy finish dead last. Let's say if one of the bottom 4 guys and Hearn gets second, maybe there's an argument there if he leads some laps. I don't know.
Well,
you're right.
He's only 3 points above the cut line. Now, if he was in Hendricks' position or like he is on Xfinity, I think he could take the day off and still be good at Richmond. The way he is only 3 points above the cut line, he's going to have a hard time getting by. Only 19 cars on the racetrack. The worst. Yeah. Basically, he's like in the 20th position.
Yeah, I just wanted to hash that out. Obviously, a big storyline. This is, I think, my favorite time in Araya playoff season. You got silly season starting up. All the Discord's hot with all the teams looking for new drivers for next year. New drivers looking for new rides for next year. And the storyline of Cameron Hearn, who had, I think, 2 wins on the season here in the SImSpeedShop Pro Series, missing this race is a big storyline in the Araya circles. So you can go ahead, Hunter, with the rest of this. I just wanted to touch base on that. Hopefully, we can just have a great, clean race. No more incidents between drivers. But let's talk about the second half of these playoff drivers.
Let's say, just mentioning Danny Ware, he's got 9 top 10s on the year. Keep an eye out for him. He's been getting hot at the right time, too. And then we move over to the right portion of the playoff picture on your screen there with Garrett Heath in 7th, then Blair Patterson, 1 point to the good over Ed Robertson, who's the first driver out, and then one of our very own in red also. Jacob Bell sitting 10th in the standings, then Delonte Ballard 11th, and Tyler Hallman 12th. Now, I mentioned Monday night about average finishes for the Swift Lifestyle Pro Series playoff drivers, but unfortunately was not better. So I made a graphic for it, and this is the graphic. So this is average finish on tracks greater than 1.5 miles, because 3 of our 5 playoff races, including tonight, are going to be at tracks above 1.5 miles. And obviously, we're at Atlanta tonight, and then the round of 8, it's Michigan, which is a 2-mile track, and then Kansas, another 1.5 miles. So on the left side of your screen there, you see the 3 next to Weinland. That's where he's at in points. So he has the best average finish on 1.5 miles. Earlier in the year, he got back-to-back wins at Auto Club in Vegas, so that really helps him out. And then Davey Hendricks, the points leader, coming into tonight at an average 5 flat. And then you see the rest on your screen. looking at Ed Robertson there on the 9.7. He enters ninth in the playoff picture coming into tonight. And then Delonte Ballard also on a 9.7. And now, I didn't want to do just that. I wanted to go above and beyond and see what the playoff picture was looking like, or playoff drivers were finishing in their last 3 races. And there we see it right there. Delonte Ballard's been getting hot at the right time more than any playoff driver in the last 3 races. Now, keep in mind, our last 3 races, it's been Talladega, a super speedway, Watkins Glen, a road course, and then Charlotte, a 1.5 miles. 3 very different racetracks, and Delonte Ballard, all playoff drivers, has the best average finish than all of them. And he enters 11th in the points, as I reiterate. And then Garrett Grant at a 4.6, Eric Weinland 5.0, and then Davey Hendricks 5.6. And then to the left, it's where you can follow us on all our socials, including our Twitch. Subscribe to our YouTube, follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And those are the 4 drivers with the most momentum heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting stat there. Did not expect to see Ballard up there, but he's been racing pretty well, as you mentioned. I think if you're looking at drivers that are just good, and Weinland is one of those drivers. You look at Weishart again, already putting up in the 30.3s in practice. That's going to be, if he puts it in the 30.3s, and you can look at that practice timing on the left side of your screen there. If he puts one up like that, he's going to start on the pole. And this is a racetrack. You've seen it on Monday. It's going to be all about tire wear, fuel saving. Atlanta's a really cool track, but a lot of strategy as far as tire wear. You're going to be able to need to run fast in the long run, not lose a lot of speed. So very interested to see who gets to put themselves in a good position heading into Richmond. Because as Harold said before, there's not a lot of points separating these drivers. You looked at on Monday, Matthew Robinson had like a 40-point lead. Cameron Hearn's been dominating the Xfinity Series. He has a huge lead. Brad Slaughter and Trucks. These guys have been tight, and there's been, this is probably the most parity, I think, out of all of our leagues here. And so this is going to be a very interesting race.
And as you see on the left-hand side, the practice times go away, but they were separated by about 3 car lengths of a second. Now, that is due to the 550 horsepower package that we see at these 1.5 mile tracks and above. So, a little something to keep an eye on as qualifying rolls off. And, Dom, I just want to ask you really quick, because you race in the ARCA cars for the Swift Lifestyle Pro Series. What's the main difference between racing in the ARCA car and racing in the Cup car?
Tires, I would say. Tires in the ARCA car, notoriously rough. Saving tires is a big thing in those ARCA cars. Not a lot of draft you can get here. So I would say, I would expect the cars to run a little bit closer together. But this has all been like every other race we've had the SImSpeedShop Cup Series, especially the beginning, has been like a fuel saving kind of race, fuel race. And I know a lot of drivers weren't happy about that, but it still makes for an exciting broadcast. So I would expect some more of the same tonight, especially kicking round off 1 playoffs, just like the rest of the season. But I would say that's the biggest difference, is just the ability of these cars to kind of stay faster on a longer run. A little bit more forgiving, I would say. But I might just be a little biased.
So you see on your screen, Zachary Taylor working the high groove through 3 and 4 and coming down on the front stretch. And you'll see the names flicker on the top right of who is fastest, those being Alan Elwood for the moment to the top of the chart with a 30.517. And then on the left side, you'll see all the names that are below his, such as Brad Slaughter in second and Zachary Taylor, who we're watching go on his second lap. Decides to run the middle this time around. Now, if you scrape the walls, we saw him run on the outside. If he scraped the wall that last time by, his lap would not count. I believe if you clip that grass, because we have seen some cars clip the grass throughout the week. Harold, would that be a DQ if he clips the grass on the front stretch?
It would nullify the lap because it would be a 0x.
Okay.
You can kind of tap it. It just depends on if it iRacing registers it as 0x, like Harold said. But I'm interested to see if guys can run the top here. We're talking about the difference between the ARCA cars and the Cup cars. ARCA, you probably could run 2 laps on the top, and then your tires would be a half a second slower coming in. So I always prefer to run the bottom line. I think it's just normally, especially at a track like this, a little bit nicer on the tires. But I would leave it up to these SimSpeedShop Cup Series drivers to be able to run the high line and run it effectively, because these are some very talented guys here.
And speaking of very talented, last week Tyler Holman got his first top 5 of the year, and he needed to get a good finish in front of Christian Nabor in the 56 in order to make the playoffs. He's had a very bad luck sort of year, and last week, as we mentioned, got his first top 5, got a podium finish, was up here talking to us after his finish, and it was great to see him finally pull through, get that top 5. What does that do as a confidence booster going into the playoffs?
I mean, it's huge. I think, me personally, I don't really want to sit here and dwell on Monday's race, because I want to put on a good show for the Thursday guys here and the people watch on the broadcast. But I was the last guy into the playoffs, and I was able to do that with a pretty solid top 10 run in our last race at Charlotte last week. And it's all the momentum. You just want to be hot. A guy like Delonte Ballard, you talked about it with that graphic. Like, he's coming in knowing that he can run fast on any type of track, super speedway, road course, and an oval, like a 1.5 mile. I know we're not going to run any more super speedways or road courses, but it's got to feel good just putting good finishes up on the board. And I think that, you can be fast and not finish well. There are plenty of guys in this league that happens to. But in order to compete for a championship, you got to be consistent week in and week out, and you got to get hot at the right time. So, Tyler Hallman finishing top 5 last week, already putting up the 3rd fastest qualifying time on the board. He's feeling good. That 52 Chevy, he is feeling good in that Northern Capital yellow, and that's definitely a name to watch out for as we go ahead in this race.
Another name to watch out for with the yellow 3 on the roof of his car is Samson Motorsports teammate of Tyler Holman, David Weishart. So he completes his 2nd lap at the top of the chart. Who would have thought?
There's a deep exhale from Weishart telling the guys on the radio, yep, I just put it up. That's me. I'm sitting on the pole. See if you guys can go beat it. That's a great job there by number 3, David Weishart. I would say one of the favorites, if not the favorite, in this championship playoffs here.
And there's another Samson teammate, Garrett Grant, we were just going to touch up on. He goes to the top of the chart also. So Garrett Grant, David Weishart, then the 3rd driver in Tyler Hallman, who just squeaked by to make the playoffs, but got a good finish while doing so last week. So all 3 of those drivers, looking forward for them to hopefully having their own sort of playoff push as we head on into the rest of the season.
Garrett Grant has shown that he knows how to be fast in the short run and keep those tires underneath him in the long run. He got himself into trouble yesterday. On the truck series, I believe yesterday he switched lanes, and in the truck series he was caught up in somebody else's business. So, and basically both times was not where he wanted to be, but every time you could see towards the end of a run, Garrett Grant, about halfway through the run, was the fastest car on the track.
You bring up a good point there, Hunter. Staying out of trouble in these playoff races is key, because you could be fast. You can have another guy ruin your night. Somebody who's not in the playoffs, especially. These guys are running, should be running playoff contingency decals. I think we got red on the top, as you can see right there, Jacob Bell. That red on the top of the window there and on the back rear spoiler. That denotes to all the other drivers that aren't in the playoffs, give me a little bit of room. Obviously, you can race me hard, but especially with this points being too tight, one wreck and one incident that can just ruin your night, ruin your playoffs, and you'd be chasing into the 2nd race at Richmond. You don't want to have that happen. So I'm going to be looking at a lot of these guys, especially towards the rear of the field, on how conservative they want to be, because it's a little bit of a give and a take.
Yeah, as you mentioned, the playoff banner on the windshield and then on the rear spoiler for the Cup cars, and then obviously on the left side, you see the names highlighted in yellow are drivers that are in the playoffs, and one of those being Eric Weinland. We're going to ride on board with him, and we've seen this through a good bit of drivers on their first lap. They run the top to get all the speed that they can, and then on the 2nd lap, they'll transition to the bottom, kind of like a super speedway like Daytona, Talladega, which I guess is what they're looking forward or we're going towards with the new reconfiguration, because that could race more like a super speedway with the new reconfiguration. But with this package, just 550 horsepower package, as we see Cameron Hearn in our chat, car handles well, barely lift, and gas it on entry. So the 550 horsepower package was made to make pack racing like we see on the super speedways, but obviously we see that through the first handful of laps or so. I'd say maybe 10 or 15, but then we start to see some separation. But it is mostly full throttle all the way around as you see him in the middle of the corner. The lowest he's going to is about 173 through the corners.
And before we talk about
keep our eye on.
Yeah, before I talk about the pride of Altoona here, Eric Weinland, it's good to see Cameron Hearn be able to still get into the building and do some testing for the Infinity team. I know that they probably like it, even though he's not racing tonight. Eric Weinland, though, see the head tilt there on the camera there. I think this is going to be. I don't want to. I'm just going to claim him as my pick after once we start to grid up here. He won. He won in Las Vegas earlier in the season, race 3 on the season, and I would say that's probably the most similar to Atlanta in terms of tracks that we've been to so far this season. So I'm just going to put that out there, and you see Weinland putting on the number 1 spot on the board. There you go. So Eric Weinland, he's the guy to watch out for tonight.
Yeah, this top 3 really all separated by 1/1000th of a second. From Eric Weinland at a .437 to Grant with a .438, and then Weishart with a .439. So really close lap times. And then not to mention Brad Slaughter, who's going after a championship in the Northern Capital Truck Series. Just, why not? I'll run the Cup Series. A .445 for him. So really close times all the way around the board.
Yeah, you can see those names in yellow. Obviously, the playoff drivers, if you haven't figured that out yet already. Brad Slaughter, though, competitive pretty much everywhere he goes, whatever car he decides to hop in. He's the favorite on Tuesday night. Congratulations to him winning the race here on Tuesday night in the Truck Series. Pretty much a dominating season for Slaughter there in the Northern Capital Truck Series. But he's going to try to bring that over and starts in the top 5 position.
And it looks like that's going to do it for qualifying. Still have a few drivers who have yet to go out. 2 playoff drivers, one being Davey Hendricks and then the other Ed Robertson, and then Christian DeBoer, the driver on the outside looking in, because we could have an upset here tonight. A playoff driver could very well not win. We could see someone like Brad Slaughter try and win again in Atlanta. As you mentioned, he won Tuesday night in the Northern Capital Truck Series, his home track, which I did not know until the finish. So that's really cool to see. And we'll see our playoff grid. Well, not playoff grid. We'll see our playoff drivers in the grid to start tonight's race. Got 140 laps slated for us. And here we go. Eric Weinland is going to be your pole sitter by 1/1000th over other playoff driver, Garrett Grant, and then David Weishart starting in 3rd in row number 2, and alongside him, as we mentioned, Tuesday night's winner in the Northern Capital Truck Series, Brad Slaughter, going to start 4th. Row 3, Garrett Heath and Tyler Holman, pair of playoff drivers. Row number 4, it's going to be Alan Elwood, driver in the Lodgebox Series, having a really good year. And then Blair Patterson going to start 8th, another playoff driver in the SImSpeedShop Cup Series. Then row number 5 will be Danny Ware in the 18, playoff driver again. And then Chris Seinfeld, last week's winner at Charlotte, looking to make it 2 in a row here tonight.
And in row 6, we got Ryan Hartz and Bryce Senesac in the 09. Row 7, Delonte Ballard, a name to really watch out for. He's running off 13th, as we said earlier, has the lowest finish average in the last 3 races. So I'm beside him, Jordan D. Martin in the 02. And we have Zachary Taylor and Jacob Bell running off 15th and 16th respectively. The number 77 is one of our playoff drivers. And then we got a full playoff driver row there in row 9. Ed Robertson, the only other driver in Araya from New Jersey, besides for me. Just want to put that out there. Davey Hendricks, 18th. And then Christian DeBoer riding off 19th. And that is your starting lineup for the SImSpeedShop Cup Series at Atlanta.
And real quick, let's take a look at our weather presented by LoudEastTravelWorld.com. The Araya playoff opener in Hampton, Georgia. We got mostly cloudy skies, air temp 77, track temp 82, humidity at 43%, and then winds at the northwest at 4 miles an hour, but those are ever changing. So one of the names you mentioned in the, I believe it was the 6th row. Yep, it was Ryan Hartz. Another one who, he's had a win already this year. He won at Dover. It was a really impressive win, and then just kind of, got caught up in his own thing, which we all understand. Personal life, personal stuff in life gets in the way. But happy to see that he's back. He's starting deep in the pack in 11th, but Eric, you already made your, or Eric, you made your pick, Dom, in Eric Weinland.
That was my pick. You can pick it too if you want to be right.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Wow.
confident. Really confident in that pick.
To Pennsylvania, number 12, bring it home.
Harold, who do you got?
I'm gonna go for it this time. Garrett, don't make me look bad, Mr. Grant. You've been doing great all week. I think you're gonna finally get it right here. Number 5.
I'm gonna go with Cameron Hearn's pick, and I really like this pick too because Danny Ware's really putting it on, and as he mentioned in the chat, he's got some Swift Lifestyles energy supplements, and he said he's focused and in the zone. So my pick's gonna be Danny Ware at the 18. This pace car makes a hard left turn on the pit road. 140 laps later for us. The SImSpeedShop Cup Series playoffs underway at Atlanta. Oh, she banged! She banged! She banged! There you go. That's for you, Gary. As they roll off into turn 1. And we see close side-by-side racing. We'll see this for the first 10 to 15 laps or so. See really close action there with Weinland leading the way. Then the Sampson boys. Weishart on the bottom. Grant going to let him go. Then we got the battle for 4th now. Coming through to lead lap number 1 will be the 12 of Eric Weinland.
We had some 3 wide down there on the backstretch. You guys are going to be fighting for a position early on. Still got a long race though, 140 laps, and we'll see what the preferred line is. I'm going to bet it's the low line though. I guarantee you that if some guys are running single file, it's going to be trying to grip that white line as close as possible, save the tires in the long run. But Eric Weinland there getting out to a 2 or 3 car length lead.
And there you see in the back, Danny Ware looking underneath the 91 of Blair Patterson for the 8th spot. Then at the top right of your screen there, you'll see the fastest lap change. Changes throughout the race, but that just shows who's got the fastest car on the track at the moment. And we see up in front of the 18 of Danny Ware battle side by side between Alan Elwood and Brad Slaughter, 2 non-playoff drivers in the Cup Series, battling for 5th. Ed Robertson going to the top of the chart. How about that for Ed?
At 30.5, the qualifying times, the winners were for the pole were 30.4. It's a pretty fast race pace there for Mr. Robertson.
Robertson currently in the 15th position, although kind of like a super speedway, the faster lap times come from the back of the pack. We see just a gaggle of cars there in the middle. And then Weishart currently running 2nd, got a teammate behind him, Garrett Grant, running in the 3rd spot. And then here comes on the outside, you see Brad Slaughter looking outside of Garrett Heath for the 4th spot. Oh, car in the wall back there. Looks like it's Blair Patterson. Had contact. Oh, and Brad Slaughter in the wall too. He's spinning in the grass.
Ooh, right there. Yeah, I think number 5 of Grant came up on him a little bit. It's really tough to see for someone who is starting top 5. Hopefully he can get it back out there and stay a lap down and potentially get a lucky dog and help with some of the cautions.
Yeah, it was contact with the 5 of Garrett Grant. You see him not spinning the car out, going through the grass. Right there, just that contact. The 5 moves up on the 81, and unbelievable. What car was that? Was that what car was that? Was that Davey Hendricks or Alan Elwood? Might have been Alan Elwood. The first car in front of the 81 when he was spinning in the grass. An unbelievable job from avoiding that, because that would have been a nasty wreck very early on. Could have collected some playoff drivers, but nonetheless, we stay green.
Yeah,
so that time around,
I'm saying I'm just shocked. It's not a caution there. Kudos to these drivers. for keeping it clean, especially for someone like Slaughter, not in the playoffs, keeping it clean, not taking anybody out there. It wasn't really his fault, in my opinion, but, for them to all keep it clean, that's great on them. As you see the 24 making a pretty big move up into the top 4 now, Taylor. And that Liberty University colors, he's really making a push.
We've got some swapping of positions going on now as we see the 23 of Heath on the bumper of Eric Weinland, your leader. And then, as you mentioned, Zachary Taylor working the outside. As you see, he's going on the outside of Heath for that second spot. And right behind him on the outside is Delonte Ballard, who, as we mentioned in the pre-race, has the best average finish in the last 3 races. Boy, oh boy, Taylor is going to the lead. He's trying to get that lead side by side. That top is rolling early. Taylor's still working on the outside. Got Delonte Ballard there. Think he can clear him this time by coming off of turn 2. Ooh, it's going to be close. He might clear him next time around. Or he's got him clear right now.
Yeah, you could see that high line definitely carrying a little bit more speed, but I really think that's going to take a beating on the tires. It's lap 10. Delonte is probably going to try and get up here and get a lap lead, get himself some points for the playoffs. But I think that bottom line, you give these guys like Weinland, Heath, Weishart some time. They're just going to stay and stay patient. They'll pass him, I think, in another 5 or 6 laps here.
So Zachary Taylor going to the lead, and then Delonte Ballard running in the second spot. Joined him on that outside. That just seems to be rolling really early.
Yeah, this is the driver we talked about before, the 21 of Ballard in that Toyota Camry. Lowest average finish in the last 3 races, and look at him sitting second. Number 1 playoff driver on the board as far as, not points, but in terms of just results here. So we got a huge, almost pile up in the back group here. But
we do got contact in the back. The 0-2 going into the wall. That's Ryan Hartz. No, sorry, that's Jordan Martin. Ryan Hartz is in the 0-3, and then we got another car spinning just in front of him. No caution still. These guys are below the white line, and it looks like that's the 91 of Blair Patterson. And then points leader Davey Hendricks also involved. Huge playoff implications this could be. So no yellow as the wreck occurred below the apron, and at times we'll see iRacing avoid that yellow going out as we'll take a look at our 1-to-go replay here.
Yeah, it's 0-2
just contact
in the middle, 3 wide. Yeah, I mean that's probably the most dangerous spot in the racetrack coming out of 2. Really unfortunate for Hendricks. Talked about it coming in the playoffs. With a broken foot, and now he's got to deal with the broken front end of his car.
Yeah, unreal how he had that avoided pretty much scot-free, and then got collected by Blair Patterson. Both of them still going, although heavy damage to that 54. As we mentioned, he was close to not winning the regular season championship because that gave an extra 15 bonus points to his name. He only had 3 extra bonus points if he didn't win the regular season championship. It was close between him, Weinland, and David Weishart, but in the end, Hendricks got it, and right now he's using the most of those bonus points that he's got because right now he's 18th on the track. He's on pit road along with the 0-2 of Jordan Martin. We got cars going low on the apron again.
It looks like Brad Slaughter stayed on pit road. His car doesn't look too beat up, but he's definitely out. He's going to be out of contention for tonight. Already 8 laps down. Likely Hendricks out of contention too. But for a points leader like this, you just gotta take a deep breath, just put the car out, get some laps, and hopefully some other guys will get into some trouble.
We're seeing a replay here with the 49 of Alnell with a checkup with the 12 of Weinland, the 3 of Weishart, and then there you saw Tyler Hallman there going low, went below the apron. So they were 3 wide at one point, but luckily were unscathed and still caution free again. But man, a lot of early contact and early wrecking going on.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking earlier about how conservative guys were going to be playoff race 1, and looks like not too conservative. These guys are racing hard for position. Maybe there's just all the juices are flowing. It's amped up everybody's kind of getting ready for this playoff round 1, and 20 laps in, we got about 6 cars with damage, 3 cars on pit road, probably done for the night, or at least in contending. But it's been a wild one so far.
Yeah, that car you see there, the 81 of Brad Slar, he's yet to disconnect. I was just about to ask Carol because he would know more than I would if anyone would disconnect, but he's still on pit road servicing the car. He's currently, I believe, 12 laps down, either 11 or 12 laps down. So I'm looking on our leaderboard. So we see the 49 of Alan Elwood currently running in the 6th spot.
You know, if Ken was here, I think Brad Slaughter, he's familiar with the Sasquatch Award. I think that would qualify. Since, you know, we usually give that out to the driver who has a very bad race due to something out of their control.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to see the Sasquatch coming in the playoffs. Regular season, you can laugh it off, put it on your car, you know, show a little badge of pride there. But playoffs, you do not want to see that Sasquatch coming.
So Brad Slar still on pit road. He's yet to disconnect, still fixing the damage. And looking right above him, the 54 of Davey Hendricks, he is out of the race. So a big playoff hit to the 54 of Davey Hendricks. Had that first win in the Araya 500 at Daytona. There you see damage to the left front of the 49 of Alan Elwood, but big playoff implications there as the 54 of Davey Hendricks, the first driver to retire from tonight's race in Atlanta.
Yeah, and it's important to note for the playoff runs here that Davey Hendricks, although he's going to finish last, he's going to get points for finishing 19th, probably, I'm guessing, if Slaughter ends up coming back out, which would give him 24 points, I think, race points. And that's, you know, in comparison to someone like Cameron Hearn, who's missing the race tonight, he'll get 0 points. So at least Hendricks could put some points up on the board, and he was 2018 in points heading into this. 12th place was 2,000, so got a little bit of a cushion, but like you said, tough to see for our points leader here.
So we see Eric Weinland go to the lead, passing Zachary Taylor, then Weiss are trying to pass him also. Davey Hendricks heading into tonight's race with an average finish of 5.0 on tracks greater than 1.5 miles, and just in the last 3 races alone. Average finish of 5.6 for Davey Hendricks. So this is a big hit to him in the playoffs, as we mentioned. But we will keep an eye on the rest of the playoff drivers as the night rolls on. And one of those was Blair Patterson, nearly getting more damage than Davey Hendricks because Hendricks has retired, and Blair Patterson is yet to come down pit road.
Something to keep in mind is, I always say this, Eric Weinland somehow has the ability to make my numbers look bad. I think I said the longest was 44 tonight. Is that what I said? I'll double check it. Okay. So if he could get it to 47, he could do this in 2 stops. And I wouldn't put it past Eric to figure out somewhere to get it to 47.
Harold Darner, full-time producer, part-time crew chief.
He's the Arias Larry Mack here on the One to Go Studios broadcast.
Yeah, but I would have been fired by the VRA 12 team already because I'd have been telling him to come down pit lane, and he wouldn't have won a few of those races this season.
I think it was on
I was going to say, we see towards the back there, looked like nearly 3 wide racing between the 52 of Hallman, 21 of Delonte Ballard, then the 49 of Alan Elwood. There was a little bit of a checkup there that last time by coming out of turn 2. But right now we see the 23 of Heath move up to 3rd, Hallman to 4th, Delonte Ballard hold on to 5th on the bottom with Alan Elwood on the outside, and then just behind him, also working the outside, the 09 of Bryce Senesac.
Yeah, what's I think stood out most to me in this race so far is that the top 13 guys are within 2 seconds of each other.
Oh, contact! Ballard to the wall with Zachary Taylor. Caution comes out for the first time in Atlanta, and another one of our playoff drivers is involved. The two made contact just before the entry into turn 1. We'll take a look at our One to Go replay here to show you exactly what happened.
These were the 2 cars in the 21 and the 24 that were leading, just a couple laps ago.
On the 24, Taylor comes down into the 21 of Ballard. Very minimal damage for Ballard, considering what happened to the 54 of Davey Hendricks, although that car is going to handle differently now with all that damage on the rear end, and aerodynamics really play a factor into this with the 550 horsepower package.
Yeah, that's a tough thing to see if you're Ballard there. I really didn't do anything wrong there. Was having a great run. Hopefully he can get a lot of that damage banged out here on the caution laps. If he can keep that required, if he doesn't have any required repairs, just has some optionals, he might be able to keep it somewhat competitive. But like you said, the arrows are so important here on this package. It's pretty hard if you get dinged up to kind of stay with these leaders. He was having a great night so far, and just really tough to see a lot of carnage here so far in playoff race 1.
And there we see everyone coming down pit road as tire wear was a concern here coming into tonight, because Atlanta is one of those racetracks where it really tears up on tires. And these teams only have 3 sets of tires, so I would assume that everyone coming down pit road now will use all their sets of tires. Well, not all, sorry. One of their 3 sets of tires. If they used all of them, that'd be nuts.
Yeah, the cautions where they fall, especially with how chaotic this first 27 laps have been, going to be really interesting to watch because, like we said, 44 laps on fuel. These guys have already taken all tires a little bit before that fuel window. You'd like to kind of split it up into 3s, keep an extra set of tires if in the perfect world, but definitely going to be interesting to see how these guys maintain those tire sets, as that's very important and how you manage that in this race.
Race control issuing the 24, the end of the line for contact that started that caution between him and Delonte Ballard.
So Zachary Taylor getting the EOL for causing that first caution. It feels like we've had a caution already just because there's been so much going on. We had Blair Patterson get into the wall in turn 3, then on the same lap, turn 4, Brad Slaughter into the wall, spinning in front of the pack. Don't know how anyone avoided hitting him. Went down in the grass and then on the pit road where he's been there since. He's yet to disconnect. And then we saw Blair Patterson and the 54 Davey Hendricks made contact along with the 02 of Jordan Martin. And Jordan Martin is out. Davey Hendricks is out, the points leader heading into tonight's race. And Blair Patterson continued to drive, hoping for a caution to come out. And we saw that with contact from the 24 of Zachary Taylor and then the 21 of Delonte Ballard. Ballard still on pit road. Taylor also on pit road still. Blair Patterson, the big winner out of this caution, because not only does he come down, he might still have some repairs to make, but he stays on the lead lap throughout all of this.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if Patterson puts this back down pit road and finishes whatever optimal or optional damage he may have left. Ballard and Taylor still being down pit road tells me they had some required damage and could not come back out until that was fixed. So, hopefully these guys are able to get out only a lap down this time by, then maybe fight for a lucky dog, but something to watch out for, as Patterson's just going to take it back and at the end of this line. We'll see if he comes down one more time. But such a shakeup here, Hunter. Really, really surprised at how this has turned out so far, especially after Wednesday night. We had a caution-free race.
Yeah, caution for the race Wednesday night, and I joked on during the broadcast. It feels like half the time when I'm calling these races, they're either feels like they're caution-free, and then the other half kind of feels like a wreck fest. Get that every now and then, but that is not the case tonight, as we've had our first yellow. The pace lights are out on the pace car. Race leader Eric Weinland has control of which lane he wants to restart the race from. And at this racetrack, the inside line is the line you want to be in, because for some reason that second groove, the outside groove on the restart, just does not go because of where the restart box is. Although, as soon as the pace car goes on the pit road, you can go whenever you want to.
Well, the ARIA iRacing rule book, it may be an advantage if you have the first one to fire off on the outside, could put you in a position, especially as the tires wear out. If somebody needs to, maybe do a 2-tire stop or a 0-tire stop. Weinland did do, or somebody in the VRA camp did a no-tire stop earlier in the week. I can't remember who that was, and did try to line them on the outside to take care of that. But kind of concerned. That's only 30 laps, so we have 110 laps still left to go with only 2 sets of tires in pit lane for these guys.
Mr. Producer / crew chief, did anybody take 2 tires there, or was it all 4?
No, it was all 4. I'm looking through, and I was just going to touch up on Weissar and Elwood. They had contact earlier on the backstretch. They stayed on pit road longer to fix the damage as the Northern Capital green flag flies once more in Atlanta.
Yeah, I was going to say they all took 4 tires, but 110 laps that's basically 55 laps per set of tires. So they're going to have to fuel and not take tires for one set. There's no way around that.
Yeah, Atlanta just a notorious track for eating up the tires. So, everyone is on the same playing field though. Everyone took tires there, so everyone has 2 sets left. We don't see any different competing strategies yet, but if this goes green for a long time here on the second run, we might start to see some guys look at this a little bit differently. But everyone was tight, and within 2 seconds of each other, there was some really tight, good racing, and hoping to see some more of it.
So they're going to have to think about that throughout this stint. Like, what stint am I going to be able to double stint? Am I double stint early and have the better set for the finish? That's what I would do. But I'm sure somebody's going to, roll the dice and try to figure out getting the tires early, maybe short pit kind of thing, and try to take advantage of it and, be around at the end, kind of stay on the first lap. Not sure what they're going to do, but like I said, in my crew chief book, I'd be saying let's double stint these and have that extra set for the last one.
Yeah, just doing some quick calculations. Probably lap around, I would say, 68 to 72, and then lap 115. Give yourself, a 25, 30 lap tire run there, and that saves you 2 sets. So that's probably, if this goes green, that's probably when you'll start to see guys come down pit road. As you said, that fuel window's 40 to 44, but got it up for 2 more stops to make it the whole way. So unless there's a caution coming out, I think that's what the strategy we'll see here.
And a lot of swapping going on as we talk about the different strategies now that these teams are going to have to make, considering that they used one of their 3 sets of tires. So Garrett Heath went to the lead. Bryce Senesac and Jacob Bell battling for the second spot. Jacob Bell rolling on that outside now, trying to pass Senesac there on the bottom. Then right behind, David Weishart's made his way back inside the top 5 already.
It's amazing.
No surprise there.
We got to talk about 77. He's running on a laptop.
Yeah, Jacob Bell, he doesn't have his normal setup like he usually does because he's in the process of moving. Well, he already is. He's already moved to where he's at in LA, but his setup is not there. His setup, I believe it shows up tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. But Jacob Bell running currently on a laptop. And we saw him, he had struggles last week at Charlotte.
Into the wall.
Oh, and as soon as he mentioned it, he's spinning to the inside wall out back. Oh, he saved it.
And no caution.
Wow.
No caution, and I just jinxed Jacob Bell for that. I'll take the blame on this one, Jake. My bad.
I was about to call him playoff Jake, and then he puts it into the second turn wall there. Saved by Mr. Bell there. Not allowing another caution to come out, but he'll be able to stay on the lead lap here and try and just keep running it out there. But Garrett Heath is pushing it in this 23. You can tell that Weishart and Weinland, as soon as that green flag's thrown, they're taking it very cautiously, trying to save some tires, I think. Maybe some fuel, I don't know. But Garrett Heath is definitely pushing. He has almost eighth of a second here over David Weishart in 3.
I was just saying he was running on a laptop there, so a really impressive run. And then at the very end, he clips the wall and then spins it, nearly spun back onto the racetrack, but kept it out both the outside wall, out the inside wall. Really, he scraped the outside wall, but nonetheless, no caution is out. So that was towards the inside of the racetrack, as we saw earlier in the race. 3-car wreck on the backstretch did not create a caution because it was below the apron and the white line that you see there, but after that happened, Garrett Heath has pulled away to almost a 1-second lead over David Weishart and Eric Weinland.
Yeah, that gap's going to be very interesting to watch because I think Weishart and Weinland, like I said, taking it conservatively, saving the tires. Heath is going to push it. We'll see another 10, 15 laps, how those times look. Also like to mention 21 Delonte Ballard back on track. He's 6 laps down, but you're just talking about the point standings here. I always like guys that come out after a wreck and just put the laps on the board, especially in the playoffs. You're looking at Ballard, who's sitting 11th place coming into this race, 2,001 points. Jacob Bell, 2,002 points. Jacob Bell's only 2 spots ahead of him. So at the very, if the results were to keep, Ballard would only lose a point to Jacob Bell, who's 1 spot ahead of him. So props to Ballard for coming out and just trying to get these laps in for the playoffs.
You know, the interesting about that is the Xfinity driver Andrew Player got into the playoffs by basically lapping around with a car with no hood at Charlotte by staying on the lead lap. He got himself in. That's what it matters. Points racing.
No, I mean, there's two schools of thought. You know, one, guys who just like to win and guys who just want to put up fast times week in and week out. And there's guys who compete for championships. If you want to compete for championships, got to finish races.
We see the field rolling down the front stretch. It looks like the 3 and the 12. Well, they were working together. Now they're side by side for a second, but they have tandemed away from this main pack here as we see Bryce in a second. Then the 03 of Ryan Hart's. I misspoke when the wreck occurred on the backstretch. That was not the 03 of Ryan Hart's. It was the 02 of Jordan Martin, who's out of the race. But the 03 of Ryan Hart's still racing. And obviously, he's inside the top 5. Haven't seen him in a good bit. He won at Dover earlier this year. But now he's back, and he's running inside the top 5 at Atlanta. Right behind him is the 18 of Danny Ware, who's been on a good streak of his own. He's got 9 top 10s heading into tonight's playoff opener. Running in the 6th spot. Had chaos all around him. Couldn't even imagine what's going through his mind right now as Hendricks had an incident. Delonte Ballard has an incident. And nearly coming down there on the 52 of Tyler Hallman, another playoff driver. So now we have a battle for the 6th spot.
Yeah, it's just going to be very, eye-opening once we get the final point, the playoff points update. Davey Hendricks, 18th out. He was the leader coming in here. Weinland and Weishart, they're only separated by 2 points. So right now, Weinland and Weishart are the 2 guys to watch as far as the points go. And then if they are able to win the race, you are clinched into the next round. So if Garrett Heath, who wins the race, who's bleeding right now, if he's able to win the race, he'll get a free ticket into that round of 8. Doesn't have to worry about Richmond next week.
You know, the thing about it is Eric Weinland right now is virtually leading that between Weishart and Weinland because he got the point for a pole, he's got a point for no incidents, and a point for leading.
Yep.
And by the way, Dave Weishart has 4 incidents, so he cannot get the 0 incident point.
Yeah, because 4 is definitely more than 0. So he's panning through the field now. Still got the 09 of 7th Sack in front of the 03 of Hearts. And then right behind him had a swap of the 6th position between Tyler Hallman and Danny Ware. Now 6th and 7th on the racetrack. And then right behind those two, Chris Seidenfeld won last week's race at Charlotte with a late caution. He had an extra set of tires along with Eric Weinland and Delonte Ballard, and they all worked together on the outside to pass David Weishart in the 3 and stole the race from there.
Hallman's trying to make a move under these 02 and 09 cars. I was going to ask you real quick, what's your opinion on the 02 and 09 numbers with the 0 in the front? Are you a fan?
Well, the 02, I thought it was the 03, so that should tell you all I need to know.
Oh, 03, yeah, 03. See, I don't like them. That's my answer, if you could tell by how I messed that up.
The zeros can make things a little bit harder to see, but these are guys. I had an uncle who he's a big Dale Earnhardt fan. Wanted the 3, so he raced the 03 most of his time at Kalamazoo Motor Speedway because the number 3 was always in use. So I can see the reason before it. And heck, local track racing put letters behind them.
We're just thinking about the broadcasters here up in the booth. That's what we care about. What makes it easier on the broadcasters?
Well, I know that the 03 of Ryan Hart's his favorite driver being Austin Dillon. So that is the reason why he likes running the 3. And obviously when he cannot run the 3, he runs the 03. Big Austin Dillon fan. So anytime he wins in the Cup Series, Ryan Hart's goes ballistic as he should because feels like Dale Jr. when he wins. Well, when he was on that winless route, whenever he won both in 2008 and 2012. For me, I had the same reaction that Ryan Hart's gets whenever Austin Dillon wins. So big Austin Dillon fan there, running in the 6th spot.
We got two groups of, I think first group has 5, second group has 6 cars. And that's kind of how they're starting to settle out here. The first 5 are kind of just all in line. Second group here, see a little bit of too wide.
Yeah, the second, third, fourth, and fifth place drivers have worked together to catch this leader of Garrett Heath, because he pulled away quite a bit after the spin from Jacob Bell to the inside of the racetrack, and it did not bring out a caution. Everyone had to check up behind, and especially in this package where we saw earlier in the race, Weishart and Alan Elwood had damage because of a checkup coming out of turn 2, and that creates quite a bit of difference in the speeds of the car and then just building up momentum, like we see the 12 of Weinland trying to do on the outside, looking for the lead. He's going to shut the door, and the 12's going to cut down low. Side-by-side battle for the lead heading into turn 3.
Yeah, off of 2, I think, is where you get the most run off the high line there, and Weinland was coming fast, probably about a 4 or 5
close to making
distance.
contact with Garrett Heath. That was close between the 12 and the 23. He was coming up, and it was so close for making contact. That could have been bad.
Yeah, Garrett Heath is pushing this thing hard. We saw him go out to about a second lead. The 12 and the 3 of Weinland Weishart taking things easy. Now they're catching, but Heath isn't going to let him pass so easily here.
So we see the 52 of Hallman looking to the inside of his teammate David Weishart. Side by side for the third spot. Weishart trying to get a run on the outside of the 12 of Weinland. Looks like he's there coming off of turn 4. We'll see the teammate of Hallman go with him.
Yeah, that entry from the top side into the bottom, I think, is so important for these guys. So if you're running side by side, not going to get a lot of speed into the corner if you got to cut it, not get the momentum, just kind of winding that thing around. But Heath is doing a good job of fighting these guys off. As you see Weinland fall back to 4th, he might try and regain position. Just let these guys in front of him fight and pick his spots here.
Yep, and 4 of the top 5 are in the playoffs, and the only non-playoff driver in that top 5. Running at the back part of it, you see the black 09 of Bryce Senesac. He's having a solid run. Running inside the top 5, was right behind the 52 of Tyler Hallman as they were working their way up to the front group. So obviously now they are a part of the front group, and you see that second group also in a single file train in the back, looking like they're trying to get some sort of momentum going to catch back up with the front 5. So we have a side-by-side battle for the lead. Now Weishart down low on the 23 of Garrett Heath. He's going to shut the door on him, nearly put him in the grass. Now here comes Hallman to the outside, but Weishart's there.
As a slap 53.
And right now, for the moment, this is your Northern Capital Battle of the Race. We would like to thank Russ and Steve Anderson of Northern Capital for their continuous support of the Northern Capital Truck Series, and from all of us here at Araya, which you can catch the Northern Capital Truck Series every Tuesday night on the Araya Twitch channel.
I was going to say, great ad read on the Northern Capital as their drivers hit number 1 and number 2 here crossing the line. David Weishart in the 3, Tyler Hallman the 52. Put on a show for Northern Capital.
Yeah, typically running in the top 5, we would see the 3 and the 5 of Garrett Grant, but now Grant leading that second pack in the back as the 12 of Weinland trying to get around the 52 of Hallman, although that's not the case, and he stays behind the 52 of Hallman. Meanwhile, behind him, the battle for 4th heats up between the 09 of Senesac and the 23 of Garrett Heath, and in just a handful of laps, Garrett Heath goes from leading to battling to staying 4th.
Yeah, this is going to be very interesting, these next 5 laps, to see if Heath burned off all of his stuff trying to put out, get out to a lead there. We saw right off the green flag restart. But, we'll see if these guys saved a little bit and now can push it ahead. We talked earlier, thinking about lap 70 around, give or take 1 or 2 laps is when these guys will start coming down for green flag pit stops. But as you see there, 23 and the 09 tailing away as you got a 3-car battle for the lead here.
Got Bow for the lead, Bow for 4th, and then this second pack is catching them quick. Now that these guys are side by side, Weinland and Weishart side by side going into turn 1. Starting to see more and more cars use the outside groove. Weishart will keep the lead coming off turn 2. Weinland in 2nd, and then Hallman in 3rd, Garrett Heath 4th, and Bryce Senesac your top 5 still. There you see that 46 of Alan Elwood working with the 5 of Garrett Grant. They are now within a second of the back part of this pack. They are closer now to the 23 of Garrett Heath as those two, Heath and Senesac, continue to battle, although now they stay single file. Hallman still trying to look underneath the 12 of Weinland.
So you said these guys are starting to run this high line. I feel like as the tires start to wear, you can get a little bit more speed out of that top line, get a lot of speed down the back straightaway. And it looks like a lot of guys, as we get to the second half of this green flag run, running the high side.
Yep, as we see the 12 of Weinland looking like he was trying to go on the outside back down. That was not the case as they remain single file. Look at how close they are to the wall. You see, they're really trying to widen out that corner so they could get the good arc and the better run as they go down the backstretch.
As you can
Now
see,
that, Harold, I would say that, Harold, is the Larson line.
Yep, all the way up against that wall. But we talked about that with Atlanta as the dynamic track, which is a great thing. I love the way that iRacing worked for years and years to make this happen, where the track warms up, lays rubber down, and then the inside line no longer becomes the groove that they want to be in with the tires wearing out. They want to be able to keep the car wound up on the outside line, which is what you see Carl Larson doing all the time. Because I think he learns that from dirt track racing, where that outside line can be your best friend if you can keep the throttle down the whole time.
Well, speaking of best friends, David Weissar and Tyler Hallman are about to get one because Garrett Grant is coming. He is right behind that pack now. He's worked his way all the way up to rejoin this main pack, which now half of the pack consists of Samson Motorsports drivers.
Yeah, it was Samson versus VRA heading into this, and VRA, tough night already with their points leader, Davey Hendricks, already out. If you're just tuning in, got caught up in probably the first 10 laps, a little bit after 10 laps, but got caught up in a wreck, and he had to park it for the night. So big shakeup here if you're just tuning in on Thursday night for the SImSpeedShop Cup Series.
Yeah, and also Delonte Ballard getting caught up in a separate wreck that brought out the caution between him and Zachary Taylor, in which I don't think Brad Slaughter is disconnected. He was one of the first ones to have early issues, along with the 91 of Blair Patterson, who was in 2 incidents already, and he stayed on the lead lap throughout all of this.
Yeah, Brad Slaughter's still on pit lane. It's passing 33 minutes. I don't know if he's actually near his computer or not, but that's probably going to be all that it needs because you can change an engine in 30 minutes.
Yeah, I think Slaughter's just saying, I wrecked in, lap 3, almost threw a wrench into this whole playoff thing. Let me just sit out for this practice on Tuesday nights and try to win a championship for VRA there. We've had a worse night already.
Well, boys, as we talked about it, Eric Weinland is surrounded by Samson Motorsports drivers, in which they are now working together because Garrett Grant is now battling for third. Tyler Hallman's moved up to second, and the leader of David Weishart, he continues to lead. And now we have a Samson 1, 2, 3. I don't think we've seen that throughout any point of the regular season, and we're seeing it now in the playoffs.
But Garrett Grant has kept the tires. He's the only driver that seems to be putting the car at will wherever he wants to.
It wouldn't surprise me if Grant is able to overtake the 52.
Eric Weinland
here.
Coming down pit road. Yep, the 12 of Weinland has come down pit road. So we might see some drivers coming down pit road here in just a few laps because we're approaching lap 40 of a run.
We're just about to get to that fuel window there, Harold. You said it was 40 to 44. Weinland probably looking at the writing on the wall as far as his lap times with the tire wear. He's like, I need to come down, get fresh rubbers now, and then be able to go out and put some distance back into the battle for there. Because you probably gain around a second or two coming out on quick tires. So if you're able to have good fresh tires, you'll be able to eat into that lead. And it would have surprised me after all this cycles out if Weinland is in the lead just because of how much time you get by taking tires before the other guys.
Fall off is about 2 seconds.
Whoa.
That was like Seidenfaden back there in the 45.
That was Seidenfaden getting loose there coming out of turn 2. But yeah, so we see the 12 of Weinland come down pit road. We also see the 77 of Jacob Bell on the pit road. So he's on set number 2. And Sci-Fi also down pit road. So these guys are coming down for their second set because they already used their first set. And our early caution that happened at around lap 22 to lap 23. Very early to have a caution in Atlanta and very early to take tires, but no one in the field wanted to risk having older tires. So they all came down and got new tires. So all these guys, well, for the moment, most of these guys still have 2 sets of tires, and we're starting to see them transition to another set. So some drivers will have 1 set remaining from this point on, including Sci-Fi and Weinland and Jacob Bell.
Yeah, Weinland pitting a little bit earlier than I thought. Like I said, I thought it was going to be around lap 70, 71, 72. We'll start to see these guys come down in about the next 2 or 3 laps, I'd imagine. But these guys are going to hope it goes green with that tire set that Harold was talking about. It would throw a massive wrench into everybody's strategy. If everybody comes down, cycles down pit road, then we have a caution like 20 laps in, and then guys are faced with the same decision they were on lap 20. Do I pit, get the fresh tires and go on a really long run having 0 tires, or do I save one? So, but the races seem to calm down a bit. Not a lot of, we saw some good racing up front. And there are some side-to-side racing, but it looks like for the most part, knock on wood, all of the contact and the wrecks are over for the most part.
As we see the 49 of Alan Elwood also on the pit road. But still this top 3 being led by Samson drivers and David Weishart, Tyler Hallman, and Garrett Grant. So it looks like we've got more drivers coming down pit road. Those include the 18 of Danny Ware and the 64 of Ed Robertson.
Weishart's last lap was around 32.8. If we go to Eric Weinland, his last lap was a 31.6. So about a second. You see all of them coming down pit road now.
When we saw the front 2 in David Weishart and Garrett Grant come down pit road, along with the 03 of Ryan Hartz. So Tyler Hallman takes over control as race leader. Then second, Bryce Senesac. Third, Garrett Heath. And then you see right behind the 12 of Eric Weinland, the first car 1 lap down. So he will get his lap back in, I believe, a lap. And now we see the 23 of Garrett Heath come on the pit road. 52 of Tyler Hallman down pit road. And the 09 of Bryce Senesac takes the lead. And should mention that it's a bonus point for first lap you lead. So Tyler Hallman staying out leading that lap just earned himself a bonus point.
Senesac has got to be coming down this lap. He's got 45 laps on this stint.
As you see, Eric Weinland, like I said, he was going to probably cycle out to the lead after all these pit stops are through. He's going to cycle out to the lead as Garrett Grant, David Weishart, about a full straightaway behind them. So you see that tire fall off be very, very integral to where this track position ends up playing out. We'll see if the 3, the 5 can take it easy, let those tires kind of fall off slower and catch back up to Weinland.
Christian Nabor. We'll see if he stays out another lap or comes down pit road. Looks like he will stay out another lap. Don't think he'll lead a lap this time by. Oh, I don't know if he did. It was close, but I don't think he did.
It's around time, I think, Hunter. If we're at lap 73, I think it's time for our halfway rundown.
Oh, yeah, we're close to it. I want to do it after the 56 pits because that will screw up the whole rundown. No offense to Christian Nabor or anything, but I feel like as soon as we start, he'll feel like as soon as I start
the rundown, he's staying out to get some airtime.
All right, well, you know what? We might as well do it. So this halfway rundown presented by Swift Lifestyles. Fans, be sure to visit our sponsor, Swift Lifestyles. For clean supplements to help improve your focus in gaming, use the discount code on your screen, Area iRacing, AREAI Racing, for 15% off your entire order. We would like to give a big thanks to Swift Lifestyles and their continuous support of the Swift Lifestyle Pro Series. A really quick, Christian DeBoer. He's got a lap led, got his bonus point. He's been running in the back majority of the night, but staying out an extra lap just to get that bonus point, and he's going to stay out and lead another lap. So really good run here for Christian DeBoer, leading some laps here in Atlanta.
Yeah, and he's got a happy sponsor, too. Miller Sim Racing Graphics gets all that airtime in our Swift Lifestyles Pro halfway rundown.
Yep, good air time right there, and good air time for the driver behind him on fresher tires and Eric Weinland. So Eric Weinland's been in the top 5 majority of the night, although there's been quite a bit of a do-si-do with drivers flip-flopping positions. So right now he finds himself in second, and now the lead as 56 of the board goes down pit road. He's got a drafting partner in Blair Patterson with him, who is not on the lead lap, currently 1 lap down in 12th. One driver who is on the lead lap is Alan Elwood, the highest non-playoff driver in the field. He's actually a playoff driver in the Lodge Box Series, just here having some fun in Atlanta. Had damage early with the 3 of Weishart. Other than that, he's been deep inside the top 10 and up front inside the top 5 right now, where he runs in the second spot. We move on to Garrett Grant in the 5 car. He's been in the back part of the top 10 for the majority of the race, although that last stint before he pitted drove all the way inside the top 5, and at one point was in a 1-2-3 with his Samson teammates, one of which is right behind him as he's trying to pass Alan Elwood for the 3rd spot. But a good night so far for Garrett Grant, right behind him, teammate David Weishart looking for 3rd. So he's also led a good bit of laps here tonight. We mentioned that his contact with the car that was outside Alan Elwood in a checkup effect. Checkup effect on the backstretch. And right now, just trying to get inside the top 3 once again. And right behind him, who's had a really strong night after his top 3 finish, well, top 5, but he got a podium finish last week in Charlotte, Tyler Hallman, and he stayed out too. Led a lap, got that bonus point. But Tyler Hallman, he's been on it for the whole race. And we're starting to see that show. Just what one top 5, what one good finish can do through their playoff push.
Damage for that 18 there, Danny Ware.
I didn't know if you wanted to do the rest.
I'll take it. Running 6th place, Danny Ware in the playoffs there, but dealing with some pretty extensive front end damage there, as you can see. But he's currently running in the top 10. Hopefully, you're going to salvage a good night for the number 18 team. Next, we'll go to the 23, Garrett Heath. You saw him lead 23 laps. We'll see if he can save some tires. He's now 3 seconds behind the lead, and we'll see if he can get back to those leaders. But a good run so far for Garrett Heath. Entered 7th in the playoffs. Ed Robertson, number 64. He was, at the start of the race, the final driver on the cutoff, so he was the first driver out. But he's running top 10, and you see, already Hendrickson 18th, Cameron Harris in the race. He should bump himself in with a solid run, already doing so in 8th place at Robertson. 9th, we have Bryce Senesac, the second of 2 non-playoff drivers in the top 10. He led 2 laps there in the 09, and he's having a good run there too. And we finalize our top 10 in our Swift Lifestyles rundown, our halfway rundown. Jacob Bell, 10th place, coming back inside the top 10 after you saw him self-spin there after hitting the wall in turn 2 off of that green flag restart. But he's fighting his way back into the top 10. It's also the last car on the lead lap. So good night for Jacob Bell, who needed one, as he was also outside the playoff cutoff after we go to the top 8. But back to our leader here, and Hunter, you can take it back.
I was going to say, in the middle of that rundown for the top 10, we saw on the leaderboard, Garrett Grant go to the lead, then Weishart's a second, and Tyler Hallman in the 3rd. So once again, we have a 1-2-3 with Samson Motorsports drivers, and which this is a rarity because we haven't seen this all year. We have seen a good bit of 1-2 with Weishart and Garrett Grant. And as we mentioned, Tyler Hallman, he's been on the bad luck side of things this year. And then last week at Charlotte, needed a good finish to make the playoffs, got a 3rd place finish, his first top 5 of the year, and I think we're seeing just what that one good finish can do for you.
Yeah, I mean, Samson boys, I think they're affectionately called. Turning it on for round 1 of the playoffs. See 1, 2, 3. I'm sure Northern Capital and the folks over there couldn't be happier with what they're seeing so far.
Should point out Eric Weinland has 6-lap older tires than our current top 3.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at probably lap 110 after those stops is when those guys will come down. But, decisions to be made. We'll see if, as you see, Weinland and Elwood kind of getting into it back there. If they can save some tires and possibly reel them back in as this long green flag run keeps going.
I feel like they might need a bigger pack if they want to work together and get through. I mean, they got a 3-car tandem right here, and the next car behind them is Garrett Heath, who's led the most laps tonight.
Yeah.
But they also have a top 3 group right in front of them, so kind of hard to catch up whenever you got that going on.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about the aero package, and these cars are just very good and a lot faster when you're able to run in a pack together. And you got 3 teammates, not only 3 fast cars, but 3 teammates. And you saw how fast Grant and Weishart just moved through the field with them back and right in front of each other. So, if I was on the radio, if I was in with Eric Weinland, I'd be telling Alan Elwood, Garrett Heath, fall in line. We gotta try and catch these guys.
So we see right in between them is the lap car Blair Patterson. He's the first car 1 lap down, so if a yellow were to come out, then that would put the 91 of Blair Patterson back on the lead lap. So we're still seeing the 49 of Alan Elwood trying to pass the 12 of Eric Weinland there on the outside. Right behind him, closing in, 23 of Garrett Heath. Then right behind him, Christian DeBoer, the second car 1 lap down. So gotta think that there's a race within a race to get that lucky dog, because if a yellow were to come out, Patterson would be in, DeBoer would still be stuck a lap down. So DeBoer's trying to do everything he can to get in front of the 91 in case the yellow does come out.
And I just wanted to note here as we go back to Garrett Grant with the 1.2 second lead over teammate Tyler Hallman. Garrett Grant has no wins on the year in this series. He finished second at Watkins Glen, second at Homestead. So this would be a first in Araya, a playoff driver, winning his first race in round 1 of the playoffs. The winners on Monday night, Tuesday night, and Wednesday night all won previously in their series with Cameron Hearn, Brad Slaughter, and James Shane Wolf. But Garrett Grant would get a well-deserved win, I'm sure. It would make him into the top 8. But what a no better time to potentially get your first win than when it really counts.
But not only that, but Tyler Hallman doesn't have a win either. Obviously, I mean, he got his first top 5 last week, and what a run that would be if he were to win tonight. Still have about 50 laps to go, about 51 laps to go here at Atlanta for the SImSpeedShop Cup Series playoff opener. And it's been a chaotic one to start things out, but it's kind of mellowed out since. Very early on, Blair Patterson got into the wall in turn 3, and then that same lap coming out of turn 4, saw Brad Slaughter and Garrett Grant make contact. Slaughter went into the outside wall, spun across the pack. Don't know how anyone avoided hitting him. Nonetheless, he's saved it. He's been on pit road ever since, but we don't think he'll come back for the night. And then after that, we saw a 3-car wreck on the backstretch with the 91 of Blair Patterson. Again, this time collecting the 02 of Jordan Martin and the 54 of Davey Hendricks. Hendricks has been out since, and so has Jordan Martin. Blair Patterson has continued going, and he's currently 1 lap down in the 12th spot. But that wasn't enough for a caution. And then in turn 1, we had an incident with Zachary Taylor and then the 21 of Delonte Ballard. Zachary Taylor is out since that incident, and then Delonte Ballard has fixed his damage as a playoff driver, and he's currently running 16th, 7 laps down. And after that, it's just kind of been a mellow sort of side-by-side-ish here and there, mostly pack racing. But in the middle of that, we've seen the Sampson boys just fly to the front. Garrett Grant, Tyler Hallman, David Weishart, they've all had a lead at one point throughout the night, and it seems like to me they have the 3 fastest cars on the racetrack.
Yeah, I mean, if it stays green, it's hard to see how any of these drivers from 4 to 6, 4 to 7. Ed Robertson, I like to shout him out again, putting on a good run there, 4 seconds behind Garrett Grant, but he's starting to catch the 6th, 5th, and 4th place here. And he's making a good run if he can get around the lapped car of Blair Patterson here, which it looks like he's going to, and then he's got Alan Elwood in his sights. But Ed Robertson was probably a long shot coming into these playoffs, but as you can see in any one of these series, if you could put in, a top 10 run at the start of the playoffs and some guys have bad nights in front of you, anything can happen. So good night so far for Ed Robertson. A quiet 7th place, but good 7th place nonetheless.
Absolutely, and the points leader in Davey Hendricks, 18th out. And he had a points cushion of 18 points heading into tonight, although that can change quite a bit, and that might put him at the cutoff or even below the cutoff as we go into Richmond next week.
Yeah, I think Richmond next week, he's definitely going to have to tune in because that's where the drama is going to be. We already talked about, the fifth driver in the playoff standings heading into this race, Cameron Hearn, serving the suspension for the incident in Charlotte. He's probably going to have a win or go home situation. And then you got Davey Hendricks, who headed into this race, as you said, the points leader, and may very well start the race at Richmond outside the top 8 cutoff. So we got a pretty big shakeup here for the SImSpeedShop Cup Pro Series Cup Series Championship. And like we said earlier, this is probably the series with the most parity. 4 or 5 guys have shown that they have the top speed. Wins have been spread out. There hasn't been like one dominant driver, and it's showing here tonight on just how crazy a playoff series can be. It's a whole new season. It's basically starting over, and good on these guys. Tyler, like you said, probably the most impressive so far, of getting his first top 5 at Charlotte, now running second. But Garrett Grant also just starting to really pull away here, over 2 seconds now over Hallman, as you see in that Northern Capital truck. Northern Capital. Samson Motorsports machine.
Yeah, you mentioned that there really hasn't been a dominant driver, although Davey Hendricks has been the most consistent. He's only got 1 win, and that was at Daytona. We have 4 drivers with 2 wins in Cup races this year. We had Eric Weinland go back-to-back early in the season at Auto Club in Las Vegas. Then we had another pair of back-to-back wins with Nate Trita at Darlington. Nate Trita at the Daytona Road Course and then at Darlington. David Weishart got his second win a few weeks back at Pocono. And then just a couple weeks ago, Cameron Hearn bringing in his second win of the year at the Glen. We've had a number of drivers get 1 win. Obviously, Davey Hendricks with the win. Then we had Brad Slaughter with the win at Talladega. And then Chris Einfine last week at Charlotte. So there's still a good bit of laps to go. We're close towards 40 now. But we could see another first-time win here, whether it's a playoff driver or a non-playoff driver.
Yeah, I mean, this is really where we're going to see, the race be won and lost here. I think if we stay green, which there's no indication that this race won't, considering how, the drivers have really started to stretch out here, as you can see down that back straightaway. There's a lot of distance between these cars, but probably in around 5 to 10 laps, we're going to start to see guys coming down pit road for that last set of tires and that last fill up of fuel. And 1 bad pit stop, we've seen it plenty of times in all the series here. Guys coming down too slow on pit road, coming in too fast on pit road, speeding penalties. Things kind of settled down here, and it's going to be incumbent on a lot of these drivers to get a good clean pit stop, get back out there and just try and catch Garrett Grant.
Yeah, Garrett Grant has pulled away was over 2 seconds. It's kind of heading back up and down. So you can now go 2.1 seconds over teammates Tyler Hallman and David Weishart running second and third. So it looks like I don't think we have an incident, but Eric Weinland was close to being under a second between him and David Weishart. But in the past handful of laps, that gap has slowly gone up.
If you're a non-Samson driver, the closest you are to the leader here is 4 seconds. That's Eric Weinland. Again, top 3 drivers, Garrett Grant, Tyler Hallman, are all teammates with Samson Motorsports, all sponsored by Northern Capital. Really putting on a show here, as we've said here in Atlanta multiple times. But we said that window for fuel was 40 to 44 laps. I don't know what lap we are specifically since those last green flag pit stops cycled out. But on tires, it was probably going to be, I had it around lap 115.
Right now, Weinland's on 36 laps himself. So you got 9 more to go. So like 110.
So Weinland probably would come in first because he pitted about 4 or 5 laps before everyone else. Or maybe he tries to stretch it out and tries to run with them. I don't know. Maybe it's he'll try to shake things up, but he's still losing ground. Took about 2 laps, and that lead is now back around 4.5 seconds over 4th place Weinland there, and 2 seconds over Tyler Hallman.
So we also see the 3 of Weishart starting to lose ground on Tyler Hallman in the 52, running in second. That gap between him and Hallman is about a little over a second also. So more separation starting to show between the field. But Weinland still running in fourth with Garrett Heath in fifth. Then Allen Elwood sixth, Ed Robertson seventh, Senesac eighth, Danny Ware ninth, and Jacob Bell rounding out the top 10. So
Just talking about top tens, looking at these standings. Davey Hendricks, we were talking a lot about his night. He was the points leader coming into it. This is only his second race of the year. He will not finish inside the top 10. He had 11 top 10s out of 12 races, make it 11 for 13 now. The only race he did not finish in the top 10, other than tonight at Atlanta, was at Pocono back in mid-December. Just shows you how quick things can change here in the playoffs.
he entered tonight's race with a 5.6 average finish in his last 3 races. Then on tracks greater than a mile and a half, and the length, it's 5 flat, which is second highest amongst playoff drivers. And the highest being Eric Weinland, who's averaging 4.2, and he's running in the 4th spot right now. But just shows that with any given day that something bad can happen, and we don't not only see that with Davey Hendricks, but we see that with Delonte Ballard as well. Ballard heading into tonight had an average finish of 8.7 on these tracks in mile and a half or greater length, but in his last 3, he had tied the best average finish with Garrett Grant at a 4.6, and then Ballard getting collected in that wreck early on. Just unfortunate to see as we see our first car coming down pit road, the 18 of Danny Ware is in.
Yeah, he's starting the cycle. Like I said, it's going to be key to see where Weinland comes down, because he, like I said, he was 4 or 5 laps before everyone else on this cycle out. First time they came down on this green flag run. So that's who I'm going to look to see here. But Garrett Grant still with a 2-second lead, just super impressive to get out to that much of a lead, and he's just been cruising.
Yeah, he really has been on cruise control for a good bit of this second half.
We got a call by the 23 as he's coming down pit road.
Yep,
Our
so
second driver.
Garrett Heath down pit road as well. So now we see a side-by-side battle going on for third between Weishart on the outside and Weinland on the bottom. This could break up the trio that we have going on with Samson Motorsports.
It shows me that Weinland still got some long run speed. You know, he's got 6 lap older tires than David Weishart. He's able to put on the pass, but just no one seems to have anything for Garrett Grant. So it looks like coming up on lap 108 here, expect the pit road to get a little busy coming in the next 5 or so laps.
Looking here, Danny Ware went 2 laps down. He
Well,
was
he
in pit
was
road for almost a
9.
minute.
Oh, okay. Maybe he had a speeding penalty.
Might have been. I'm showing that he was in his box for 54 seconds, and then total time on pit road, 1:24.
Yeah, you're not going to be taking that much damage repair there running on the lead lap. That had to be a penalty of some sort. As you see, Bryce Senesac now hitting pit road. We got gonna have 7 drivers now ready to come down pit road after he pits.
And so the 12 of Weinland now up to third, Weishart down the 4th. Breaking up this trio of Samson drivers as now they run 1, 2, and 4 on the racetrack, and the 4th one was running 4th. Coming down pit road now, you saw the 3 of Weishart making a beeline for the pit entrance. And so now I should point out that these drivers that do pit now, obviously they're good to go with fuel the rest of the way. They are well within the fuel window, even if we do get a late race caution and a possible green-white checker could appear. There's only 1 attempt at those, so they're good to go the rest of the way on fuel, as now we see the 5 of Grant come down pit road along with the 77 of Jacob Bell. 52 of Hallman is in. The 12 of Weinland is in. Ed Robertson stays out, and he's going to lead a lap.
That's pretty clutch for the 64 there, getting that bonus point. Like we said, he started the race, the last car out of the top 8 in 9th place, and that bonus point's going to be pretty huge. These drivers are not separated by many playoff points, so good on Robertson. Just, I don't know how long he would have stayed out, but pretty lucky for those guys all to come down, and he's going to probably come down pit road. I would imagine the this lap or the next.
It was a good call for you there, Dom, that the number 12 of Eric Weinland came down with the two Samson guys. So they're all on the same pit strategy now. Same tires to the end.
And we'll see how good Garrett Grant's pit stop was. Because, obviously everybody's pit stops are around the same as far as timing is concerned with the iRacing service, but it's how fast you can get on pit road without speeding and how fast you can come off that track, because we're going to probably see the 64 do that right now.
38.5 total line time. Garrett Grant, fastest car front to back.
Oh, he wants it. That Garrett Grant looking for that first win. Way to put it down.
Well, I should mention another driver with 38.5 was the 12 of Eric Weinland, so he is also on it too. So we got someone down the apron there on the backstretch.
Looks like
Not really sure what that was.
looked like a 3-wide situation, but
So it wasn't Blair Patterson, but it was just behind that group of cars. It might have been the 09 of Bryce Senesac. So we see the 56 of DeBoer on pit road, the 49 of Elwood on the pit road. Is there a possibility we could see someone take 2 tires to try and stay in track position, or would it just be better to take 4?
yeah, if you take 2 tires, you're just an anchor. You're just going down to the bottom of the sea. Yeah, I think the only time you really take 2 tires is if there's a caution, or if you've already got like only 10 or 15 laps to go. Because otherwise, it's just the car is unhappy. It's just bad. That's just not a good thing. I would say no.
See the 23 of Garrett Heath currently leading. Delonte Ballard scraping the wall back there, keeping the car from spinning out. This could be the battle for the win here. Grant to the bottom and Heath on the outside. A pair of Garrett's going at it for the win, potentially. As the 5 of Grant passes Garrett Heath, and they come across the stripe with about 26 laps to go.
So you saw, most of the cars come in together. Garrett Grant, David Weishart, Tyler Hallman, Eric Weinland. Garrett Heath came in probably 4 or 5 laps before then. He was able to get a bit of a lead out just by running some fast times with the tires. With the new tires, where everybody was on old tires, but you see Garrett Grant's got fresher tires now, and he's able to pull ahead, and you're probably going to see that lead extend. I really don't see, unless we get a caution, knock on wood, if Garrett Grant can just put his head down, hit his time, stay out of trouble, it's looking like he's got this thing, right where he wants it.
Yeah, Garrett Heath pitted 4 laps earlier than our race leader, Garrett Grant, but neither one of these guys have won a race yet, so both these guys looking to get their first win, and right now, for the moment, it seems like Garrett Grant might do that.
Coming up on 24 laps to go. And this is exactly what you're hoping for if you're Garrett Grant coming into the playoffs, not having a win, still in 4th. So, we talked about a lot in the beginning of the broadcast about how these playoffs works. We have Atlanta, we have Richmond, then we go to 8 playoff drivers, remove the bottom 4. Then we go to Kansas, we go to Michigan, cut another 4 drivers. Then the top 4 drivers will race just, obviously there'll be more cars on the track, but by themselves. Whoever wins in that top 4 wins the championship. So, better like Phoenix if you're in the top 4, because that's where we're going.
So right now we see the top 5, all playoff drivers. 3 of those top 5 are Samson drivers, as we see the leader, Garrett Grant. Garrett Heath, not a Samson driver, in 2nd. Tyler Hallman is Samson driver in 3rd, along with David Weishart running 4th, and Eric Weinland inside that top 5 also. Bryce Senesac, the highest driver not in the playoffs, running in the 6th position. And then, as you mentioned earlier, really nice run from Ed Robertson. Ed Robertson running 7th. He entered tonight's race 6th with a average finish on 1.5 miles out of 8.7, and he's running just under that. So things all stay the same. He's going to improve that by just a bit.
Yeah, I mean, you talk the big winners so far tonight. Obviously, Garrett Grant, as Garrett Heath is falling back now with the 2 seconds behind the next driver on just as fresh tires, the 52 Tyler Hallman. That's the other winner tonight. Robertson, you touched on it. That would be my top 3. I think based on my just preliminary calculations here, if the race were to end on this lap, Tyler Hallman would go from 12th, the last driver in, to 4th. So he would really, and he's got one more position potentially to hop on Garrett Heath. Actually, I think Garrett Heath would be 4th. So, but either way, Tyler Hallman, good job. Really, getting a top 3, like we said, in that yellow Northern Capital number 52. Really just putting down good lap times and being the last driver in the playoffs, a position that I'm familiar with on Monday nights, but a really good run by Tyler Hallman.
Yeah, good run as you see him catching the 23 of Garrett Heath in a hurry. So just like the leader, Garrett Grant, he's got 4-lap fresher tires than Garrett Heath, so look for that 52 to make a move any moment now as he's catching him quick. Lap car in front of Garrett Heath, that's the 77 of Jacob Bell, the first driver 1 lap down. So if a yellow were to come out, he would be in a position where he could best his finish as Alan Elwood, the last driver on the lead lap in 8th. So we are got this pack of cars here with Weinland, Senesac, and Ed Robertson, and then the 56 of Christian DeBoer on the tail end of this pack as well, as he's running 10th, 1 lap down. And now we see the 52 of Hallman on the bumper of Garrett Heath as they go into turn 1. Heath going to run the outside, Hallman to the inside, and it looks like no contest there. Hallman up into 2nd.
Yeah, Weinland,
right behind those two, you see the 3 of Weishart. Go on.
Yeah, I was going to say, Eric Weinland pitted with Garrett Grant. He was probably 4 seconds back. Now he's 7 seconds back. Almost about to fall out of the top 5 as Ed Robertson is about half a second behind him. So Ed Robertson looking to really make a good night, a very strong one. But, it just shows you how fast Garrett Grant is.
Sorry, Alan Elwood just went on the pit road. Not really sure what the issue is there with the 49, but he's brought the car back down pit road. Don't know if he might have hit the wall or not, but he was running inside the top 10. He was running in 8th, the last car on the lead lap. That is crucial to some of these playoff drivers that are stuck a lap down and really can't make up any ground like Jacob Bell or Danny Ware or Blair Patterson.
Yeah, depending on how long he has to be down pit road. Delonte Ballard, we talked about it in the early incident. He's 8 laps down, but that's why you come out and start running laps because, until about lap 132, because that's 140 minus 8, you can put yourself in a better position if something happens to other drivers in front of you. So, again, just want to shout out the 21 car. It wasn't his fault. Had a bad night, but coming out here, putting down some laps as you see him there. Really about to go 9 laps down as Garrett Grant just continues to motor ahead. Really just impressive. I can't overstate how impressive this is for Garrett Grant coming into the playoffs, laying down the gauntlet, over almost 4.5 second lead now with 15 laps to go. Looking for his first win. Just a super impressive run for the 5.
Yeah, he is a man on a mission trying to get that first win in. In this pack of cars that are about 4 seconds back, Tyler Hallman running in 2nd, then Weishart, Garrett Heath. Just saw the pass complete there from Weishart on Garrett Heath for that 3rd spot. And right behind those two, the 77 of Jacob Bell, the first car, 1 lap down. So if a yellow were to come out, this would benefit the 77 the most. Well, other than, I guess, Tyler Hallman, Weishart, and Garrett Heath, because then they could get bunched up and have their own goes at possibly winning the race.
Yeah, Garrett Heath has been falling pretty quickly. We saw him basically battling with Grant for the lead, as much of a battle as you could call it. And now he's almost over 5 seconds behind him. Eric Weinland, Ed Robertson catching him fast. So, Garrett Heath's probably just got to find a little bit more smoother lap times to potentially stop himself from falling out of the top 6, because 12 and the 64 are coming, as you can see there behind.
So Alan Elwood is still on pit road, looking like he's looking like he's 6 laps down. This would really help Delonte Ballard if he could get in front of that 49, because he really hasn't been able to pass anyone in a while. We saw the 03 of Hearts disconnect a while back, but this would be really big for Delonte Ballard because every point matters, and especially if you're Delonte, he was 11th heading into the playoffs, but he was on a hot streak, then getting involved in that wreck very early around lap 23. To move up another spot, that would really help him out. As mentioned, every spot, 1 point, and then really close points battle. So we're going to head into Richmond. Oh, and the 77 sideways. No, that was the 12. My apologies. Weinland just scraped the wall there and got loose. So he saves the car, and he's still looking to get around the 23 of Garrett Heath for the 4th spot.
Yeah, like I said, Heath is just dropping. He's going to get passed by Weinland probably, depending on, just based off these lap times. Ed Robertson's got to get around this lap car to really get a chance at catching both of these guys. But, you want to finish top 5 in this race. This is the time you got to do it, coming up on 9 laps to go.
So he's got 2 lap cars in front of him in Jacob Bell and Christian DeBoer. Now DeBoer passes Bell. So DeBoer is in the catbird seat or in the lucky dog spot. So we see the 12 of Weinland passing the 23 of Garrett Heath for 4th. And not too far behind those guys as we see the 64, the red and black number 64, Ed Robertson, trying to work his way inside the top 5. He can see 3rd place right there. That's the highest he can go.
Yeah,
he's got less than 10 laps to do it.
This is the battle we're going to be watching, I think, the majority of these final laps, because Garrett Grant, don't want to take away anything of what he's doing. He's almost now over a 5-second lead over 2nd place here. But this is where the positions are going to be battled for down at the end here. We got a pack of about 6 cars, 2 lap cars. This is where the excitement is.
I wonder if Weinland calculated to save tires for the end of this run as he's moving himself up into the 3rd spot. Maybe hoping that a caution would come out and he'd add something for a restart.
And that is true. Very good point, because as we like to remind everyone, no one has tires. There are no tire sets in the pits. And a caution and a short stint just restart with 7 or less laps to go would just be mayhem on tires. And no one knows who's strong, but that's a very good point, Harold.
We are inside of 10 laps to go. We're actually close to 5 laps to go, and that is presented by SImSpeedShop. We would like to thank SImSpeedShop for their continued support of the SImSpeedShop Cup Series this season in Orion. And racers can visit our website at www.SimSpeedShop.com to find multiple items to complete their virtual racing setup, such as button boxes, wheels, racing gear, and much more. That is www.SimSpeedShop.com. As we have 6 laps to go in Atlanta, Garrett Heath has led the way by a good bit. He's increased his lead now to over 4 seconds. It's close to 5 seconds between he and teammate Tyler Hallman. But right behind those two is the battle that we're keeping an eye on between Weinland, Weishart, Heath, and Robertson. Any one of these guys could fall as further back as 6th in this pack and could go as further up or as far up as 3rd.
Our race leader is Garrett Grant.
Oh, did I say Garrett Heath?
Garrett Heath is in 5th. But I just want to make sure we know who's going on. It's the battle of the Garretts. At least it was earlier. I understand. I know what you're trying to say.
This battle between 3rd and 6th is Garrett Heath is now dropped to 6th. This is the battle. Yeah, this is what I want to see. 3rd through 6th, all separated by half a second or less.
This is really big for Ed Robertson, too, trying to get inside that top 5. He came into this playoff picture 9th, the first driver on the outside looking in, and he's really had a nice run here tonight. And with all the other playoff drivers around him having issues, him trying to get inside the top 5, that would be a big finish for the 64 of Ed Robertson if he can do it.
Weinland's got about 1.3 seconds to Hallman, unless he's really got some fast lap times clicking. Probably, maybe. We'll see. Coming to the line here if he can get it to a second, but I think you're right.
Delonte Ballard has passed down Elwood, so that's another point for him. If we look back, the battle for 4th, Weinland pulled away from this battle, so now it's Weishart and Garrett Heath making a charge on the bottom, but right behind those two, eyeing up his chops is the 64 of Ed Robertson.
You're going to see them get a big run here off the back, off of turn 2 on the back straightaway.
And not only that, behind those two, or those three, in the battle of its own, Christian DeBoer and Jacob Bell, if a caution were to come out now, DeBoer would be on the lucky dog side of things. And Jacob Bell would be stuck there ninth, one lap down. So something that we must keep an eye on as the battle for fourth continues to rage on into turn 1. Weishart getting a bump from Ed Robertson going in the corner, but up front, it is all Garrett Grant. He has a really comfortable margin at a lead just over 5 seconds.
I was say, once the white flag is shown to the number 5, the race will end on that next flag. So here it is. Here comes the white. It's up. It's in the air. When to go presents What to go. Yeah, I beat you to it.
You did.
That's a huge sigh of relief for Garrett Grant. 5 seconds ahead. Race is his unless he, something crazy happens. But you don't want to see a caution. He's not going to see one. He's probably going to win this race in Atlanta. But this is, Ed Robertson, I think, is really hungry for a top 5. We'll see if he can get it done here in the last corner.
Got a late charge here as they come off turn 4. Garrett Grant's going to come off the corner and win his first SImSpeedShop Cup Series race at Atlanta. Tyler Holman second, Weinland third. They come off the final corner just behind those guys. Close battle at the end. It's going to go to Weishart fourth, Garrett Heath fifth, and then Ed Robertson coming home in the 6th position. But first career win and a secure spot into the next round of the playoffs for Garrett Grant. He wins tonight at Atlanta. A really big job done by all the Samson guys. Really, they were one spot away from a top 3. We saw them for a top 3 majority of the race, or on the majority of the second half, if you will. But nonetheless, good night for Samson. All 3 of their drivers finishing inside the top 5, and one of their drivers we know for sure is locked into the next round of the playoffs.
I mean, just what a dominant performance by Garrett Grant. The race was over on that second green flag pit stop on that long run. Came out, as Harold said, put down the fastest pit box time, entering pit road, exiting pit road, on pit road, and really no mistakes. And in a class of his own, Mr. Garrett Grant, what a job there by the 5, and we'll be talking to him soon.
Yeah, we'll see if we can drag him up here really quick. This is your race winner, Garrett Grant, your first-time winner in the SImSpeedShop Cup Series. Garrett, this is Hunter, Harold, and Dom in the booth. Got a copy?
Yes, sir, I do.
Well, you definitely picked the right time to get your first career win when it matters the most in the playoffs. You secured your spot into the second round. Tell us what this is like for you, because I mean, I saw this coming throughout the season that at some point you would get your first win, and tonight was the night. How was the car, and what are the thoughts going through your head?
Oh man, I finally won one of these things. Man, just bad luck all year. I mean, I've screwed myself over the past 2 races in the Truck Series and the Xfinity Series. I'm looking outside the cutoff, and it feels nice to finally get the monkey off my back and finally win one. But the car felt great. It was awesome. I just sat back there and kind of saved tires there at the beginning, and I started rolling through them guys really quick, and I saved the tires really well that first run, so I knew I could go harder in that. And I kind of let her eat there the last 2 runs and put a gap on them.
Yeah, Garrett, this is Dom. Congratulations. Really put on a show. What was your preferred line? I know a lot of drivers were trying to make that high side work, especially it looked like as the tire wear was wearing on. What was your preferred line at Atlanta, and how did it progress during the race?
I'm a bottom feeder, and I really like that late apex, where I can drive it straight off, so I'm not sliding the tires going up the hill there. I've never been a big high side guy, not very good at running the top, so and I figured the top it's fast in the beginning, but I figured they'd burn off their stuff, and pretty sure that's what happened. But everybody kind of started bottom feeding there, but yeah, I was just bottom feeding it and just saving my stuff.
Last question for me, when did you know that you were that much faster than everybody on the long run? Like, at what point in the race were you like, if there's no cautions, this is mine?
Probably this last run here. maybe the second to last run, I got out there and got a gap on him pretty good, and I was like, man, if I can just have a good pit stop here and stay ahead of him, I think I got it, because I was just consistently pulling on him, and that's why I knew I was pretty fast in the beginning on that first run there. Maybe it was the second run that I dropped back way far, and then I caught the lead pack and just started blowing through them guys, and I think I got up to third before we had to pit, and I knew I had a lot of speed then, that's for sure.
Well, congrats on the win. I mean, big night for you and the Samson boys. Almost had that top three when we could have interviewed all three of you. But nonetheless, you got your first win in the SImSpeedShop Cup Series, and you're locked into the round of 8. Any shout-outs you want to give out before you go?
Oh yeah, I got to shout out to Samson boys, Tyler and David. They had an excellent run. Tyler did a great job. We got a 1-2 finish tonight. That's awesome. And shout out to Russ and Steve Anderson for sponsoring the car in Northern Capital, and SImSpeedShop for sponsoring the series. You guys for broadcasting, and Jacob Bell for putting all this on for us.
All right, Garrett, we'll let you go. Congrats on the win. Have a good night.
All right, thank you guys.
All right, that was your race winner, Garrett Grant. Now we'll bring up, for the second week in a row, this time one spot better, Tyler Holman in the 52. Again, the second place finish tonight after a strong run. Tyler, this is Hunter, Harold, and Dom in the booth. Got a copy?
10-4, I got you, boys.
Well, we talked to you last week, and the last thing before I let you go last week was how much of that top 5, that first top 5 of the year, how much of that was going to, just give you all the momentum in the world to go and have a good playoff run. And we saw it tonight. You led a good bit of laps. You were inside the top 3 with your Samson boys. Couldn't get Weishart in third, but nonetheless, a still strong, solid run for you tonight, and you led a lap, so you got a bonus point there. How did the car handle, and what does this mean to, well, you finished third last week, finished second this week, so does that mean you're going to win next week? Kind of take us through that.
Oh, man, I'm going to get one of these days. You watch. But, yeah, tonight was a great run. Just everything worked out. A couple hairy moments, catching cars that were on different life of tires. And when you're on new tires, you just got to go and take advantage of it. And it just gets real sketchy coming around so fast. So I got that little bit of right side damage at that point, and I thought it was going to kill me, but I just kind of settled down and started hitting my marks, was able to get past David, who unfortunately did have a little bit more damage from that checkup earlier in the race. And I was able to drive away from him. And then at the end, it was just, there was nothing I could do to catch Garrett. He definitely had the car. I mean, even in practice, you could hear it. He was so confident. He's like, this is going to be a good run for me tonight. And he had the car to beat. Once he got out there was no catching him. I was doing everything I could, but at the same time, it was killing the tires. The car felt, I want to say it was fairly stable because it pushed tight. It didn't really get too loose. There had moments where looseness would come, though, and you just had to be quick on the corrections and almost walk it up the track and take advantage of that rotation. And that's how you could keep your speed, because the right front was what was wearing. If you could get away with using a little bit of that right rear, you actually gained a little speed doing it. So when you would hit the corner out of 2 right, man, it felt flying down the backstretch. But if you hit it wrong, you just watch a rear view and you're just like, please no, just hoping they don't catch you. So a very fun race. I am drenched in sweat. It was a workout, trying to catch and stay where I was. Super glad it worked out the way it did. And like you said, the momentum, man, it's here. I'm excited for next week now.
Yeah, Tyler, this is Dom. I just wanted to ask you how you feel about Richmond. I mean, you were the last guy into the playoff standings after this race hasn't been finalized, and we'll get that to our listeners and our streamers shortly when it's finalized. But you were 12th heading into this last guy in. You get a second place. You're probably one good race away from clinching a spot in the top 8, if not putting yourself in contention for a top 4. What's your scouting report and read on Richmond for next week?
Yeah, Richmond in my history has been hit and miss. I've had times where, especially in the truck, I've been fast. I mean, top 5s, I believe, for pretty much regular, unless, sometimes what happens there, someone loses it a little bit off the corner and it can collect some people. So it's a hairy race on the schedule. It's the one that I have circled in this chase that's going to be crucial, especially with it being the cutoff for the first round. And I'm going to be doing everything I can to be up front, that's for sure. I mean, I feel like I'll be okay. We're going to put some time in, get a practice session in with the team. And I think we'll be able to figure it out and hopefully pull off another good points night and maybe a win. We'll see what we can do. But that was the race I will admit was the one I was most concerned about in this chase.
All right, well, we'll have to see what happens next week. As we mentioned, third at Charlotte, second here in Atlanta. Odds are trending in the right direction. Could see you in victory lane. next week at Richmond. But congrats on the second place finish. Any shout outs you want to give out before you go?
Yeah, thank you guys up here calling the race. Hopefully it was exciting to watch. There were some pretty fun battles going on. I want to thank my sponsor coming on for me and my entire team here at Samson Motorsports, Northern Capital, and Russ Anderson backing us and backing the truck series here. That's awesome. I want to thank Scotty D Race Development for coming out with some awesome parts for my Drift Mustang in real life. I want to thank everyone at Samson Motorsports and DWR. Being on their truck team has been awesome. And really looking forward to next week.
As are we in the booth, and we look forward to potentially seeing you once again, talking after a good run. So we'll let you go, Tyler. Have a good night.
Thank you, guys.
All right, that was second place finisher Tyler Hallman, and now we bring in our third place finisher and the guy to dethrone the Samson trio, Eric Weinland. Eric, this is Hunter, Harold, and Tom in the booth. Got a copy?
Yeah, I got you guys tonight.
Boy, I mean, it seemed like those Samson guys were unbeatable, just in not only for the win, but for second and third, and had a good battle there with you, Hallman, and then you had Robertson and Garrett Heath in there also. But take us through what that race was like, because it seemed for sure that the top three would be all Samson, but you snuck your way through and held on the third.
Yeah, it was all about what you had on the long run. And I kind of knew that the way this Atlanta race is coming in, Hunter, is very much like that. So I was not totally prepared for it. I probably did not do the best preparation to get myself ready for long run pace. And that kind of showed off tonight. But I managed to find something throughout the race. Something that I love to do is rip the top. And we were able to make that work through 1 and 2, like, perfectly. I mean, there were a couple times where I thought I was headed for the wall, and instead I just parked the right rear right on that air cushion and used that side force the whole way, and it really helped the car turn late. But yeah, the race was solid get go. I mean, some guys were trying to kill each other out there from the start, and it ended up finally happening about 20 laps in, and that kind of changed the complexion of the race. We were expecting a mirror copy of what the Lodge Box series was yesterday here tonight, and ended up not getting it with that yellow. So changed things up. Didn't play the strategy card quite right at the end. And Garrett Gray is one of the most talented people I've ever seen at managing his stuff, and that showed off tonight.
Yeah, Eric, this is Dom. Congrats on the third place. I know you'd like to have it a little bit better tonight. I wanted to talk to you about that strategy. You came in, I think, 4 or 5 laps before everyone the first time down on the long green flag run, and then you came down with the guys on the second green flag run. On the second green flag cycle, did you know it was over at that point if there wasn't a caution? Like, take me through what you thought about trying to gain some time on those leaders coming in the first time, and what you thought going into the second pit.
Yeah, Dom. I tried to short pit the first stint, and I think I pitted about 10 laps earlier than I wanted to. I think I did some bad math in my head. I should have talked it over with someone, and I didn't quite do it. And my teammates ripped me for that one. So, but then when I found that pace midway through that second run after the yellow, I decided to kind of run it a little longer. I pretty much ran it bone dry when we finally made the final green flag pit stop. My JRT app that I use for timing and telemetry was telling me, hey, you're not gonna have enough fuel for another lap. So made the stop, and I ended up probably burning too much trying to battle Brian Senesac in the last part of the run to the checkered. He was coming at me hard. I didn't want to give up any more track position because I knew it needed to have that to be able to track back down Garrett Heath and David Weishart up the road. So we were able to do that, Dom, and honestly, I'm happy with the result. I'm happy to move forward in the playoffs. I'm excited for Richmond next week because we should have a decent point cushion going in, and I feel like I kind of kept up with the best average finish on mile and a half pretty well. That I saw that stat on Twitter earlier this week, so pretty happy with it.
Yeah, no, I just want to confirm before Hunter asks you for your shout outs. You are the leader in total points in the playoffs. That is confirmed by 1 point, and you got about a 12-point cushion to 5th place. So I'm happy to hear that you're looking forward to Richmond. I know it's a tough track for a lot of people, but I'm looking forward to the show you guys are going to be putting on next week.
Yeah, absolutely. I got an ace up in my sleeve and a teammate that loves Richmond, and I'm hoping I can get a few pointers from him. One of my better friends that I've had, so I'm looking forward to it.
All right, well, we're looking forward to next week and the race where it will solidify who makes it to the next round and who doesn't. And it seems like you have a good shot at making it into the next round. Congrats on the third place finish. Any shout outs you want to give out before you go?
Yeah, I can't thank the VRA guys enough. Everyone who's been with the team throughout. So from when I joined back in Fuel Racing League with Randy Bichelle and the rest of the guys, and then Cameron through the start of this season here at Area, those guys really helped push me to be better. I learned a lot from not only those guys, but also DeLont, Allen, Shane Theron, Danny Ware, Brad Slaughter, all of those guys, Davey. I can't forget about him either. They all push me to be better, and I hope I do the same for them. It really helps having teammates because it gives you something to compare to. Maybe one guy's better. And, again, the ace up my sleeve for next week. I know I got a teammate that's really good at Richmond, and I'm looking forward to learning from him and figuring out how the heck to drive the track. I can't thank SImSpeedShop enough for their support of the series, Northern Capital, Lodgebox, and Swift Lifestyles for their support here at Area. All of you guys at One to Go Studios. I know Harold Darner's here, the mastermind behind it, and of course you guys here on the broadcast for being able to put this on for us. And I look forward to Richmond next week. I can't also forget Roger Racing Development on the side of the car as well for this Ryan Newman throwback. I like this paint scheme, so probably going to see the rest of the playoffs.
All right, well, we'll let you go. And I don't know if I think Dom touched up on it, but I was kind of tuned out and I just pulled up the points. You are the current points leader now. Regular season points leader. But amongst drivers who are not totally locked in like Garrett Grant, you are leading that points and you have a good gap between you and the 8th place car. So we'll let you go, and congrats on the 3rd place finish.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thank you, Hunter. Thank you, Dom. Appreciate it, Harold.
Yep. Going over the points as of right now, Eric Weinland did move up 2 spots into the top position. Garrett Grant locks himself into the final 8. Whereas we talked about Davey Hendricks dropping down 4 spots. And after not making the race today, Cameron Hearn in a huge hole. He is 34 points behind the cutoff.
Yeah, I kind of figured that he'd be in a must-win situation. As you see the playoff picture there on your screen, well, it was there, but those are the updated points.
I made it go away.
Harold has the power to make anything go away or to make anything appear, just like the finishing results that you see. A good bit of our playoff drivers inside the top 10. 8 of those top 10 drivers are in the playoffs. And the highest is Garrett Grant, who wins and secures his spot into the round of 8. Now, this is all pending post-race inspection because he could get disqualified for some reason in the virtual world. But all jokes aside, he's locked in. Tyler Hallman would have liked to get locked in to get that first win. By the way, it was Garrett Grant's first win of the year. Perfect time for it to happen. Would have liked to see it happen for Tyler Hallman after the strong run he had last week at Charlotte. Finished 3rd there. Finished 2nd tonight. Finishing 3rd was Eric Weinland after a pretty stout battle between he, David Weishart, Garrett Heath, and Ed Robertson as they battled to sort their way out. Weinland 3rd, Weishart 4th, Garrett Heath rounding out the top 5, and then Ed Robertson with a strong 6th place finish. Then we see Bryce Senesak, the highest non-playoff driver, finish in the 7th spot. Then right behind him, Jacob Bell, first car 1 lap down in 8th. Then right behind him, Christian DeBoer with a top 10. Really nice run for him in the 56th. And then Danny Ware coming home 10th place.
11th, we got the 91 of Blair Patterson, 1 lap down, also in the playoffs. Blair Patterson is in that bottom 4 cutoff as of right now heading into Richmond, so he'll need to turn it around. Chris Seidenfaden, 12th place. 13th place, Delonte Blard, also in that bottom 4 after that tough incident there in the first couple laps, plus 8 laps down. Alan Elwood, 14th. Reinhardt's 15th. Zachary Taylor, 16th. Jordan Martin, 17th. And probably the biggest story of the night from this race, other than Garrett Grant's win, Davey Hendricks finishing 18th. Tough night he goes from leading the points standings, heading in your regular season points champion, to now sitting in 5th place. But most importantly, he is only 5 points ahead of Jacob Bell, the 9th driver. So he's only got a 5-point cushion in Richmond next week. And then the 81 of Brad Slaughter incident on lap 1, you see he finished 135 laps down. He is your 19th place driver.
Yeah, a wild start to the race and a calm middle, and then a sort of chaotic ending as 3rd through 6th were trying to sort their way out. We'll take a look at our Elwood Designs race recap. Garrett Grant gets the win and leads 57 laps out of the 140 that we ran tonight. Had 1 yellow very early on. Then it was caution-free the rest of the way. 19 drivers in the race. And then how about Ed Robertson with the fastest lap of the race? And that was very early on. I believe that was lap 2 or lap 3. Got the fastest lap of the race with a 30.521. Really strong run for Ed Robertson. As he moves himself, I believe, if we can get the playoff picture back, I believe he's up to 7th in the points. Yes, he is.
Yes, 7th in the points. Big. I think, he jumped 2 spots. Tyler Hallman jumped 6 spots. That's your big winner of the night, the 2nd place driver. But Ed Robertson, those are the important nights that you need if you want to compete at the end. Not only is he in the top 8, he is probably, 12 points out of the 4th. So, he's had a good enough night to think of, maybe get some confidence going into Richmond and start really climbing it, not only making the top 8, but trying to make that top 4. Ed Robertson really doing a good job.
And then you see there, Davey Hendricks fell down to 5th, and then Tyler Holman, the big mover, up to 6th. 1 point separation between those two from heading into their night's race. First in the points to dead last in the points, and now all separated by 1 point. That is unreal to me, how close that has been. And then Danny Ware, 1 point to the good. Jacob Bell, 1 point out. And then 3 points out for Blair Patterson. And we got 8 points out for Delonte Ballard. And then Cameron Hearn, as we talked about in the pre-race, would put him in a must-win situation, and that is the case. And he is the 12th driver in the playoffs.
I just want to apologies to Ed Robertson, again, other New Jersey driver here. He is only 4 points out of the fourth place. Garrett Heath is in 4th, 2,046 points. Ed Robertson, 2,042 points. He's only 4 points out, so it's in reach, Ed. Go get him.
It is within reach. As we will wrap it up here. Any final thoughts, Harold or Dom, before we wrap it up?
Just real pumped for Richmond. I mean, it's there's not a lot of short tracks we ran this year. I know even the SImSpeedShop and the Xfinity Series, the Lodge Box Series didn't even run Iowa, and I think the trucks and the ARCA cars ran Iowa, and that was one of my favorite races of the year on all of Ariah. So I'm excited to get back to a shorter track, especially with guys as talented as these in this Cup Series. So that's what I'm looking forward to most. But just a great race tonight, and just can't be understated how impressive Garrett Grant's run was tonight.
Yeah, very nice run for him and for Tyler Holman and Sampson. Really, they were in the top 3 for the good bit of the second half of the race, and then almost got the top 3 spots in the end. If we would have had them finish top 3, we would have just had all of them in the booth and just get them one and done. Harold, any final thoughts before we head out?
No, we're going to start another. I thought it was kind of interesting because we've only had a couple back-to-back weeks that had similar tracks. We just talked about earlier, Dover to Nashville, Charlotte to here, but then Richmond is a new track. Phoenix is a totally different track than anything. So we got all these different drivers trying to figure out, like you heard, our 1.5 ace of Weinland now's got to go and talk to a short track driver to figure out Richmond next week. So it's kind of this inaugural season of ARIA has made the best drivers be better by having to round themselves out, for sure.
Indeed, that is the case, and we will head to Richmond next week for all 4 series, the first of which being on Monday night, the Swift Lifestyle Pro Series, in which we will watch Dom along with the other 11 playoff drivers trying to work their way in. Well, really 10, because one of them already worked their way in, but you get the point. We'll see the playoff drivers hit to the track at Richmond Monday night, 8:40 Eastern on the Araya Twitch channel, and then it'll be Northern Capital Trucks on Tuesday, Lodge Box Series Wednesday. Then Thursday we get the SImSpeedShop Cup Series. So 1 week from tonight, we'll be talking about all the action that's happened at Richmond for all 4 series and for the Cup Series. So from all of us here in the booth to executive producer Harold Darner, and then Swift Lifestyle Pro Series playoff driver Dom DeLeo, I'm Hunter Sleppy saying so long, and we'll see you next week.
What an exciting race brought to you by Wendigo Studios. Here they come out of turn 4 to the white flag, and it's 1 to go. Thank you to all our sponsors, drivers, and viewers. We'll see you at the next turn.